Okay. So, if you're wondering why it's a little different, I actually had a friend of mine, his name's Ruppy, Rupdat on the PPL forums, Discord, whatever. He helped record the remaining few fights just because these fights were, my Wi-Fi was acting up and so my capture device is not good. So he sent me the remaining few fights that I had, so that's really good. So we're fighting off against the lazy trainer. I don't remember their name off the bat, but their in-game trainer is Morgan. So right out of the gate, Kamala's going to come out with this nice Steve Irwin reference. I like it a lot. It's pretty clever, all things considered. So I'm going to start off just by going for my rocks here. It's a safe call either way, just to get up rocks on this team, just because of the fact that, you know, rocks really help. I'm using ice, by the way, in case that wasn't inherently clear. So he's going to just U-turn right out of there and go into Slowbro. Now, Slowbro, I mean, like, I kind of saw it coming. It was either going to go for a Calm Mind or a Scald here. I was predicting a Scald, so I actually switch out, and I go into my Lapras, which has Water Absorb, just so I can, you know, maybe put some damage on it. And nice, it does go for the Scald, which does help me out significantly because now I can have a free switch in. So Slowbro goes out now, and in comes the Kamala again. And I'm not terribly worried about this because I know Kamala can be strong sometimes, but I also don't really know what else it would do. I just go for a Freeze Dry in the event that Slowbro decided to stay in, but it didn't, so everything's all good. And so we're just gonna, basically here, I'm gonna switch on my Lapras again, and I'm just gonna go right back into my Mammothwine to get up rocks again, just because I really, really want rocks up, for one Pokemon in particular, just to get some chip off on it. As it goes for the Rapid Spin, or maybe it hadn't gone for Rapid Spin yet, and now it did. Regardless, the fact of the matter is that Irwin, the Kamala, is gonna go out, and in comes Slowbro yet again, as I do get up my rocks once again. Mainly just so that I can maintain that chip damage and make things go my way as opposed to not that way. I just go for an Earthquake here on the check that he actually doesn't go for Scald again. I figured it was probably a decent way to get some chip, and I was right in my prediction as he just does go for a Calm Mind here, which is good for me in that now I know I definitely can't live a Scald, and so I do have to switch out. But no, I decided to stay in because I really don't need the Mammothwine, I decide. Given that my team is Ice, it would be okay if I lost this Mammothwine right here, because I can, in fact, revenge kill the Slowbro pretty straightforwardly. I'm not terribly worried about sacking things. Maybe I'm a little too crazy with sacking things sometimes, but so it goes. So Weavile comes out, and at this point I could either click Pursuit, I could click Knockoff. I just go for Pursuit here in the rare case he does want to switch out, and that does in fact knock out that Slowbro, so that's really good for me. And I am Life Orb Weavile, so it's all good. So this Kamala comes out now, and with the rocks up still, it's going to put it below 50%. And my brain is like, yeah, I could probably go for an Icicle Crash and be fine, or even a Knockoff. And so I go for the Knockoff here, and it does get the Knockout here, which is really, really good for me. I was hoping that it would do that, and it worked out really nicely for me. So now Phyllis, the Ampharos, is going to come out. Not really sure what the play was here, since I'm assuming it was a Mega Ampharos. Maybe just to go for Focus Blast here, but by Megaing, I'm already faster as Weavile, and I can just click basically an Ice move, Icicle Crash in this case. I can't really click Ice Shard, but if I go for Icicle Crash, then like this thing just gets knocked out. So that's exactly what happens here, and down goes the Mega Ampharos. I wish I had more of a reason to use Mega Ampharos, but god dang, I love that Pokemon so much. It's just a shame that it's not as good as I wish it were. So in comes the Slacking, and this is the mon I was like, I just need damage off on it before, because I know this thing can be a pain, and so I just go for the Knockoff here to knock off whatever it might have, and it has a Life Orb. So that's both good and bad, I suppose, and it just goes for the Play Rough, and that is definitely going to knock out my Weavile. But it's not the end of the world, because the remaining two Pokemon are Snorlax and Alolan Exeggutor, and I can just beat Alolan Exeggutor really easily, and Snorlax isn't too bad. So right here, I get a little greedy and go for a Shell Smash, I think. In comes the Snorlax too. Yeah, I get greedy and I go for Shell Smash. I don't know if I would have outsped at +2, and that could have been really bad for me. But it's okay, because he switched. Snorlax is going to do what Snorlax does, and I'm going to go for the Water EMZ, the Hydro Vortex, with this Cloyster. And my thinking was that Cloyster's at +2, and Cloyster's been EV'd for doing maximum damage. But I was hoping that the Hydro Vortex here would do more than enough to knock out this Snorlax, because, you know, Snorlax, yes, it's bulky, but I thought it was going to be enough. It's not, actually. And he's actually going to go for his own Z-move. That's right, folks. It's Pulverizing Pancake. Pokemon, I sleep. But Z-move, I wake. Yeah, so Pulverizing Pancake's coming along, and, well, I'm at -2 defense, so, you know, I guess that's gonna do up and down. I would think that would hurt the Snorlax a little bit, just given how spiky Cloyster is, but oh well. So I don't get to sweep with my Cloyster, but that's okay. I can just send in my Ninetales here, and at this point I'm just trying to get up the the hail, and the Aurora Veil so that Sandslash can come in and sweep as needed. So what I do right now is I just go for the Veil, because obviously, like, what Alolan Ninetales is not going to go for Aurora Veil. But he goes for the rest. So I got a little greedy there, actually, because had I gone for Freeze Dry or something else, I guarantee I would have knocked it out. But now I have a bit of an uphill battle. So at this point, I'm just trying to make things work as they do. So I switch out my Ninetales into my Alola Sandslash, and basically I'm just going to try to go to town on this thing. He doesn't get the first turn Wake, which is really good for me as well, but he does have Sleep Talk, so that makes things a little tricky, especially because he has Earthquake. So, you know, that's what happens, but luckily it's not going to be nearly enough to do damage to me, and I can just go right for an Iron Head and hope for flinches and everything. This Snorlax, though, did cause me a lot of headache, because, like, the only other Pokemon I have outside of Ninetales is my Lapras, and Lapras isn't going to do much to this Pokemon, so it just goes to show that, like, I really probably shouldn't have sacked my Weavile when I did, and I really, really should have not been as, like, sack heavy as I was. So I go for an Icicle Crash here. At this point, I'm just trying to get off damage any way I can, and it almost knocks out this Snorlax, but not quite, and it does wake up, and it goes for the rest again. So, as you can see, this is going quite spectacularly. Hail is about to run out, but that's not a problem, since I don't care about the speed that much, since, like, the only other Pokemon I have to outspeed are Slacking and Alolan Exeggutor. So I go for an Earthquake now, just because I don't have a calculator, and by principle I don't use a calculator when I'm fighting in real-life fights. So I'm just trying to see what's going to do the most. And he's going to go for another Sleep Talk here, which is not good for me, assuming it connects, but it goes for the rest, which is lucky for me, in that it doesn't actually damage me. So I'm able to go for another Icicle Crash pretty easily, and, you know, at this point it's just a matter, again, I said it before, I'll say it again, just getting damage off. I have, like, one Life Orb shot left before the Sandslash gets knocked out, so I'd really, really like to not lose it here. And luckily for him, Earthquake does come out, and it does knock out my Alolan Sandslash. So that's putting me in a tricky spot, because at this point, I don't really know what else I can do, except go into my Lapras and basically just click, like, Hydro Pump, I think it's what I've got on there. And so, no, I go for a Freeze Dry, and that does enough to knock out the Snorlax, which is really, really good for me. And so, lastly, comes out the Exeggutor, and, I mean, let's be real here. Freeze Dry is going to take this out. I mean, we can debate that all we want, we can run calcs, but, like, Freeze Dry is going to knock it out. So, he's down to one Pokemon, his Slacking, and my Veil is gone, which might be kind of a problem, but Slacking's at half health, and if it knocks out my Lapras here, I can come in with Ninetales and basically just Revenge Kill. Ninetales is a Revenge Killer, I know it's strange, But Lapras has a nice amount of defense that it can actually live this hit, and it goes for the freeze dry, and so I do get the win here with the knockout on the Slacking. So I do win 2-0 against Morgan here. Really good fight. I had a lot of fun. And I will say that their team is probably one of the more creative ones I've seen at PAX because it actually mimics an image. If I can find it, I'll post it. If not, oh well. Anyway, good game. Alright, so now I've got my second fight with Odell. Simon the Ice leader again. This time he chose my Fire team completely by random, and he's got his Ice team again. And as you can tell, this fight is going to be a very fun one to be sure, so we're just going to get right into things. And so, fighting Dell again, if you don't remember Dell, he's the gaming journalist friend I have, super cool guy, grinds out every day. Really cool guy, puts in work, gets stuff done. Anyway, he's going to lead off with Cloyster. I'm leading off with my Infernape, and this Infernape right out of the gate is a Scarf Infernape, so I'm basically going to just try to deal with this Cloyster as fast as possible, because I know it's going to go for a Shell Smash. Unfortunately for me, my close combat doesn't actually knock it out, which is a bit of a pain, as he goes for the Shell Smash on the Cloyster. Now, of course, I'm not terribly worried about Shell Smash because I believe Scarf Infernape should still outspeed. So what I'm just going to do is, but it doesn't actually. So he goes for the Rock Blast, and unfortunately that is going to do enough to knock out my Infernape right out of the gate. I probably should have kept this thing alive, but in the end it didn't really bother. Excuse me, this is banned Infernape. My mistake. Or actually, I don't even remember. But anyway, I go into my Heatran because Tran basically deals with this thing, assuming that it doesn't carry some weird-ass water move. But he's just going to go for a Rock Blast again, and I know for a fact that Tran should be able to live this and deal with it accordingly. Of course, he gets a crit right there, but that's not a huge issue. I am a little annoyed that that crit did happen, but this Flash Cannon is definitely going to be enough to knock out the Cloyster. One thing that I really wish hadn't happened, or what had happened, is I wish that Tran hadn't gotten as damaged as it did, because now Rotom can come in and basically threaten me with whatever he wants to do, and he just goes right for the Thunderbolt, because I'm going to try to sack this Tran here just so that I can get a free switch into whatever. But of course now I'm down Infernape and I'm down Tran, which is not great. So I send in Darmanitan here. And this is a Scarf Darmanitan, so I'm not terribly worried. I'm just going to go for a Flare Blitz just to, like, do some massive damage, you know. And that is going to knock out the Rotom Frost, the thing that had caused my loss last game. Either way. So he's going to send in his Mamo, which is smart because, you know, Mamo threatens Darmanitan, threatens my entire team, basically. So I'm going to switch out here, and I'm going to go right into my own Charizard, just on the event that he goes Rocks here. And sure enough, he goes for Stealth Rock here. Now, what I end up doing this next turn might seem a little strange to some people, if I'm remembering this right. Yeah, I go for a Dragon Dance, but I don't Mega. And this is because of the fact that I want to prevent any possible Earthquakes that come along. Of course, he just goes for the Icicle Crash, so that plan ends up being kind of moot. Since I still take normal damage regardless. I probably should have done it for the defense boost, but whatever. But now I'm in a really tricky spot, because I was thinking he would go for an Earthquake, but of course he goes for the safer Icicle Crash, which is probably the better play on Dell's part. So, whatever. So he's going to go for an Ice Shard here, and that is going to do enough to where it does 2 KO my Charizard, but that's not even going to matter because I go for a Flare Blitz here. And it is, in fact, going to knock out the Mamoswine as well. It's not Sash Mamo, which I was kind of surprised about, but I guess it was alright in the end. But I do lose my Charizard really early on as well. So as you can tell, I'm kind of not doing the greatest here. And I send in my Volk, my incorrectly EV'd Volk. You'll see that that is something that will come about very important later down the line. And so he sends in his Alola Ninetales, basically to get Hail up, and I'm just going to go right for, and my Rocks come in, and right out of the gate, he's going to set up his Veil, which is a smart thing to do, and I'm basically going to try to set up a bit here. Excuse me, no, I go for Inferno Overdrive on this Volk here, just because I really just want to take out this Ninetales, because for some reason I thought I'd outspeed, I don't know. In the end, I do think that that was kind of a mistake going for Inferno Overdrive here, just because of the fact that, like, I could have used that turn to set up and then go for Inferno Overdrive, wasting out a turn of Veil and Hail at the same time. but hindsight is 20/20. So Ninetales does go down. Volcarona's down to like 70, and out comes the Sand Slash. Now, with Slush Rush, this Sand Slash is definitely going to be a pain in the keister. Keister. And I'm up 3-2, but like not for long, because this Sand Slash is basically going to knock out my Volcarona. I really do think, had I set up with this Volcarona here, I would have come to a different conclusion there. Maybe just like stalling out Hail or whatever. But I sent out Torkoal just to get rid of the Hail coming up so that I could get the Sun out. I really probably should have sent out the Torkoal when the Ninetales came out just to like stall for turns, but that was me making a misplay. So he's going to go for the Earthquake again. I really should have probably kept the Torkoal at better health too, just because Vanillux is in the back and Vanillux does have Hail. But I just go for a Lava Plume here. And that's going to do a lot to Sand Slash, and it is going to in fact knock it out, which is really good. Except now I'm in this really bad spot because Vanillux is going to come out, and I don't know how many of you play NU. I've been enjoying NU quite a bit, but Specs Blizzard Vanillux hits like a truck sometimes against certain things. And at this point I'm thinking, okay, I can keep Torkoal alive and like try to switch out and take the Blizzard, but in the end it's not going to work out very well for me. Because I do think that my Darmanitan can actually take a Blizzard, and that it will go down to a Flare Blitz. And that's really what this fight comes down to, is can this Vanillux survive a Flare Blitz? Turns out that, as you'll see here, Vanillux can take a Flare Blitz, and with that Flare Blitz and the Blizzard and the Hail, that is in fact going to knock out my Darmanitan, so I do end up taking another L on this fight. But Del and I were really good friends, and we always have good fights. So in the end, we realized friendship is more important, and I did end up getting his badge anyway, just because it was a pretty close fight. And I know it's not the way you technically win fights, but you know what? Friendship is more important in the end. Good game, Del. Catch him round.